Welcome to the Sociology Coach. In this episode, we'll explore how sociologists use qualitative and quantitative methods to understand complex social issues, like the impact of COVID-19 on employed parents. Let's see how using qualitative and quantitative methods in sociology can challenge some common sense notions about work and family life during the pandemic. Hey there, I'm Stephanie Medley-Rath. I've been teaching sociology for over 20 years. I'm the author of Introduction to Sociology, and I run the Sociology Coach to help people like you make sense of society. Let's dive in. The pandemic changed everything. Let's explore how it impacted employed parents. But first, here's a quick recap of the early weeks of the pandemic. On January 20th, the CDC confirms the first U.S. case. On March 11th, the WHO declares COVID-19 a pandemic. On March 13th, a national emergency is declared. On March 15th, states begin shutting down schools and businesses. By June 15th, most stay-at-home orders were lifted, but restrictions remained. For the most up-to-date information, always check the World Health Organization's website. Let's see how sociologists study these changes using qualitative and quantitative methods. Two important studies focused on pandemic parenting during the early days of COVID-19, illustrating how important both methodological approaches are for understanding our social world. Calarco and colleagues conducted in-depth interviews with 55 mothers and 14 fathers to understand pandemic parenting. When schools and workplaces closed, parents, especially mothers, faced huge challenges balancing work and childcare. Their study used qualitative methods. Qualitative research uncovers the meaning behind non-numerical data, like interview transcripts and field notes. It's about depth, not breadth, and results are less generalizable, but rich in detail. In their published article, Calarco and her research team share quotes from interviews to illustrate common themes. One key finding: mothers often describe their childcare arrangements as practical, not a conscious decision, but a default based on father status as primary breadwinners, as illustrated by the data or quote displayed. Qualitative methods reveal the stories behind the numbers, but numbers help us see the scale of a phenomenon. That's where quantitative methods come in. To help you connect the dots, I put together study resources that go with this lesson. You'll find them all on my website. Check for that link in the description. Collins and her research team used survey data from the U.S. Current Population Survey, which we learned about in episode 2.2, to study work hours during the pandemic. Quantitative research relies on large, randomly selected samples, making results more generalizable. Surveys ask standardized questions to hundreds or thousands of participants. Their findings? Mothers, especially those with young children, reduced their paid work hours significantly during the pandemic. Fathers' work hours changed little. The researchers used specialized statistical software to calculate whether the relationship between being a mother and reducing work hours was statistically significant. For a finding to be statistically significant, a change in one condition must be related to a change in another, and the change must not be due to chance. Collins' team's research found that the relationship between motherhood and reduced work hours was statistically significant. Being a mother and a mother of younger children correlated with reducing work hours during the pandemic. So let's pause and think about the main differences between qualitative and quantitative approaches in terms of how data is collected, analyzed, and generalized. How might each method provide unique insights or limitations when trying to understand complex social issues like pandemic parenting? Both qualitative and quantitative methods in sociology found that women's paid work was disproportionately negatively impacted compared to fathers, especially for mothers of young children. Let's compare these two methods. Qualitative methods include collecting data through fieldwork or interviews and use smaller samples. Their results are less generalizable, if at all. To be generalizable means the results can be applied to people like those in the study. Quantitative methods include surveys and use numerical data. They typically use larger samples compared to studies using qualitative methods. When they use representative samples, the results are more generalizable. Here's a quick comparison of the two approaches to research. The quantitative methods used in Collins's research showed the scale of mothers reducing work hours. The qualitative methods used by Calarco explain how and why those decisions were made. Together, they reveal the pandemic's impact on parenting and work. An easy way to think about the role of both approaches is that qualitative data can be thought of as a story behind the numbers found in quantitative research. They both have their place in explaining why people do things. Do you find qualitative or quantitative methods more appealing for your own research projects? Share in the comments. If you found this helpful, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next episode.